Sticker paper as an art supply? You betcha. Hi, I'm Creative Katie, Karen Burchill. Welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to use sticker paper in our art. So I bought this planner from the Dollar Tree, and while it's the right size and shape and it's a 2-year, not exactly inspired by the ugly brown, and then it has some scrapes and scratches, and wouldn't you know it, the sticker left all that residue on it, and I just wanted to cover that up. I could paint it, but I have a better plan. I'm going to use sticker paper. Now, this sticker paper I bought, I believe it was Amazon Basics. I bought it on Amazon in bulk. It is super adhesive and works so well for our mixed media art. So I'm just figuring out which orientation I want to do because I want to be able to have enough to go to cover both sides, and then we're going to work on that. So basically what we're going to do is create a masterboard, and then we are going to use the masterboard pieces to cover the planner. Now this paper is nice and smooth, and here I'm applying orange and quinacridone magenta, blending on the paper, wet on wet, right on top with the makeup sponge. It isn't soaking into the paper. If I was doing this with copy paper, it soaks into the paper, and it's a little harder to blend. It's a little bit more difficult. But while this isn't shiny paper, it is rather smooth, and it gives you the opportunity to blend straight up. So I didn't even put a coat of gesso on this or anything to seal it or make it blend easier. So I'm just adding color. Now you might be saying, oh, Karen, that's just a hot mess. And maybe it is, but this is the first layer. This is just the base color, and quite honestly, I like all the movement there. I don't want it all perfectly smooth. That's can translate to boring. Here, any extra visual texture is just extra interest on your page. So I'm mixing the orange and the magenta, getting some corals in there. I know this is a color scheme that I like, and since I'm going to use this day planner for 2 years, it better be a color that I love. Now, this sticker paper holds up well. This is straight up acrylic paint. I'm not adding water to it, but it's not pilling. It's not. Now, when I've bought sticker paper from the Dollar Tree or the dollar store, I've had that happen where it pills. It doesn't stand up to it. So here I'm just starting to add interest and build layers. And I am using the stencil brush from the Crafter's Workshop and this stencil, Art Is, and black acrylic paint. I just want a little bit of script, a little bit of black in the background, small scale. And I'm going to put this in several places. I'm choosing to do the black first because I want it pushed back by the following layers. By the other layers. I don't want this front and center. So the order that you stencil things in might make some things stand out more or less. Just remember, every time you add a layer, you're pushing back whatever's behind it. My plan is to cut this sticker paper and put it on the book. So I have a little bit of leeway about, isolating parts that I really love. So now I want to brighten this up, and I'm using this leaf emblem stencil, again from the Crafter's Workshop. FYI, link to their Shopify store below and a coupon code. So if you're looking for stencils or mixed media supplies, go and check it out. So I'm just, again, applying white paint through this leaf emblem stencil, and I'm kind of putting the stencil off the page, and this is just going to brighten the page here. I love the Mandela stencils. They just add so much to a page. Put this in 3 spots. Now remember, because this is a masterboard of sorts, I'm not using it in its entirety. I will be cutting, a piece for the front and a piece for the back. So I'm not worried right now about perfecting every little corner of this. And you can see that I've pushed back some of that black script where it just becomes a few marks in the background. I'm opting to build all my layers with paint, stenciling, stamping, because I don't want to glue onto this. I don't really want texture. Now, some of this area that I had some stencil white where I didn't want it, I'm just coming and colorizing it. I still have some of that magenta and orange on the makeup sponge, so I'm just going over it just to fix what I thought was wrong. So now I grabbed another stamp here and I'm using straight up magenta and applying that to the stamp, and then I'll be stamping on that. Now, this is not giving me an effect that I like. It's not really adding a whole lot from what I'm seeing, but I go on and I'm adding it. It doesn't, it's not an eyesore, but it doesn't really add anything to it. So I could have just skipped this step. And sometimes when you make a choice, that's what happens. Sometimes, eh, it's like, okay, well, that was kind of useless. But sometimes it's like you hit the mark. Now, again, I'm stamping right on top of that mandala. That's not too precious. That's just a layer. That's not the end goal. Here is my next mark maker. It is the inside of cardboard that one layer has been peeled off, and I'm putting bright aqua on there, and I'm going to use it as a stamp. Makes a great mark making tool, and I know that bright aqua, because it's opposite the color wheel from the orange and magentas that we've got going on there, I know that it's going to really pop. And that's what I want for my cover. I want these bright colors. Again, I know this works times from things that I've discovered over time. The more you create, the more you learn what colors go well together. And once you learn it, you can apply it on purpose. So you'll notice as I go right on top of that mandala, right on top of everything, this is really pushing back all those layers that I've had before while adding that nice little bit of contrast. I'm just putting it on with a makeup sponge and stamping with it. It's somewhat unpredictable, very organic. One of my favorite mark makers. And really, if you get an Amazon box, break it down, rip off the one layer, and turn it into mark makers. I am drying in between, but I'm a little bit cautious. I'm not putting too much heat directly on there because I don't want to negatively affect the glue. I thought it was lacking something to bring it all together. So I grabbed my dot stamp here and I'm using white acrylic paint and stamping on it. And I like how this just kind of unified the whole page. It was the missing piece. Anytime I use acrylic paint with stamps, I take the time to spray it with my Murphy's oil soap and use a nail brush and get that acrylic paint off. You don't want it to dry on your um, stamps. What a little dot happy. And now that I'm happy with it, I am going to splatter with gold, which goes really well with that magenta orange coral color that we've created. And I want a little bling on my book cover. Now, if I was using this masterboard for a larger project, what I would have done is do two at the same time. So you have more of the same and you're not going to run short. But I knew this was going to fit. So I cut it down to the size of my book. I have a front panel and a back panel, and there's little pieces left over that are going to go over the spine. So I just wanted a little bit of overlap, just like that. So you're just going to have to, I just eyeballed it. So just eyeball it and cut it. And I peeled off the backing, and I'm going to put this up to the end. Because it's the spine, I thought I would just cover that spine a different way. It kind of piecemeal it to give more flexibility. I don't know if that was necessary, but because this is a 2-year thing and it's going to be opened and closed, I really wanted it to last. So I don't often do covers this way, so I'm just kind of winging it here. I've seen in videos where they cut it at an angle and they cut different things. I'm just kind of going and doing, and if it works, go with it. So I'm getting that piece in, cutting off any excess that happens to be there. So if you don't want to wing it like I am, you can watch videos where you have people who do this a lot and they'll give you a pointer. But cutting it at an angle there and folding it over worked. And I'm quite happy with the end result. So here I'm just going to cut again at an angle, gets rid of the bulk, and press it down. And as I said, this adhesive, these sticker papers from Amazon, the adhesive works so incredibly well. Highly recommend it. So the front is done. So now I'm doing the back. Again, peeling it off, kind of eyeballing the placement to get the same amount on all the sides. And then I just press it really down. Adhesion was, super good. So again, I'm just eyeballing it and cutting off excess as I see as it's necessary. Sometimes we think we have to have the perfect measurements, the perfect anything, that eyeballing is somehow wrong. No, just make it work. Now, if you say, well, Karen, couldn't you create this on copy paper and then glue it down with gel medium? You could. I just didn't want to muss and fuss with the wet medium. And this was so much easier. And I got really great adhesion. Just like I said, sometimes simpler is better. Cutting it at an angle like that, fold it over, kind of envelope style. And then I really press to make sure I've got great adhesion. Now I could have left the cover as is without any focal image, but I decided to treat the front and the back like an art journal page. More about that. Now I left the spine here. Now I have these pieces left over. So I'm just going to put them here. Now, here's where I made a mistake. If I was doing this again, I would have done the spine first so that the front and the back, I didn't end up with a seam. You really can't see it. I've kind of camouflaged it to some degree. I'm good with what I did, but you know, I think that it would have been better to cover the spine, wrap this around, and then put the front and the back on. Lesson learned. But I made the mistake, or I did the learning, and you get the benefit. So much better than that ugly brown that it was. I also find that the sticker paper has more, it lasts longer. I've used it to cover little mini composition books and art journal page books that I've done. And it has a better, a more, it's thicker. It's more durable. That's the word I want. So I have this frond stencil that I cut out with my silhouette. And I decided I'm just going to stencil on here with black acrylic paint and then put a sentiment on. I'm basically going to treat the front and the back as if it was an art journal page. And here's my focal image. But you could have left it exactly just as it was, just the beautiful masterboard, or you put whatever focal image on there that you wanted. So here I've just got black acrylic paint on the makeup sponge, and I'm building up to the level of opacity that I want. So I get good coverage. Ooh, love that. And you can see everything that we put into that background, but we don't really see the mandala in of itself. Here I'm taking the makeup sponge with the black acrylic paint and just edging my page, my cover. It just finishes it off, ties everything together. And then I do the same to the back. I'm deciding right now if I want to put a focal image on the back or if I'm just going to leave the back plain. So if I'm undecided about doing something, I do other things and I think about it. And I give myself some time to process the question and come up with the decision that I want. So cute. So I do decide to stencil on the back as well. I think I do flip the stencil, use the other side. And again, black paint on my makeup sponge. These makeup sponges I get at Dollar Tree, they are they're not so porous. Some of them are very, very porous. Um, very, very light. These are more, I'm not sure if they're made of latex, but they're more synthetic, I think. They feel different. And I bought a lot of them when I found them. You find something, you want to stock up. So there is my front and my back cover. Give it a good dry. And then I went to my short and sweet sentiment pack. This is a sentiment pack that is so versatile, so great for this size piece or smaller art. It is words that are 1 to 4, phrases that are 1 to 4 words long. They're just perfect for this. Here I've chosen 3 of them, and I'm just gluing it down with my fluid matte medium. Playing a little bit with composition. Where do I want them? Really happy with how this turned out. Sakura Glaze pen, I'm just going to outline the sentiments. The Sakura Glaze is dimensional and glossy. And I've had these, for years. I go months without using them. They continue to work. Really a good quality product. You have sometimes you buy things and they dry out or they get clogged if you don't use them right away, or but this has just, stood the test of time. So I hope you consider this. If you have a planner and the color isn't exactly what you want or it gets damaged, you have options. Use your mixed media art journal supplies and techniques. Grab some sticker paper and you've got a cover. So here I decided to add some outlining using my fine line applicator. This is white paint that I've thinned down, just regular acrylic Liquitex Basics white paint that I've thinned down, shaken up, trial and error, get the right consistency. You don't want it to come out without any pressure, but you don't want to have to press really super hard. So here I'm just adding some line work around it. Uh, if you don't While I love my fine line applicator, and again, this is a product I highly recommend. If you don't have that, you can use a Posca pen or a gel pen. At first, I thought I would do the outlining in gold, and tried it a little bit. I tried some. I did not look like what I wanted it to look with. So I grabbed a baby wipe, wiped it off because everything underneath there is permanent. No worries about getting it off. And then I chose to do the white. So once I get this fine line applicator in my hand, I tend to go a little crazy, and I just decided to do some faux stitching all the way around the front and the back cover. It's just a look I really like, so that's what I did. Don't go too fast, just take your time and get it right. Then, because this is a cover and it is going to be handled for 2 years, I wanted to put a coat of varnish on here. And so to use the varnish, I think I'm using pouring medium that I happen to have. It's glossy. It was a miss purchase way back when I started art journaling. that I haven't used because it is glossy, but it's perfect for this. Now, if you don't have this, you can use fluid medium that is gloss as a varnish, or you can use what I use on my artwork, and I use Minwax polycrylic varnish. But I have this out and I want to use up these containers. I'm determined to use up the little bits here so I don't end up storing, 10 containers. I'm going to, get that down to whatever, empty them up and move forward. So here this gives a nice glossy finish and it protects the book cover. It's going to get handled. So a good time to give it that coat of varnish. I don't varnish my art journal pages typically. And there we have it. Off to the side, you see I have a little strip extra that I can use on other things. It's nicely varnished. I love the colors, the combo, lots of detail, lots of interest, fun project. I'll link the sticker paper in the description box below. Check it out. And I hope you consider using sticker paper in your art. Until next time, go get creative.